The following program does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of the staff, management, or ownership of this station.
The following pre-recorded program is brought to you by Angela Box, LLC. Now, let the uprising begin.
There are only two genders, and one of them is right here. It's the box that rocks. This is the Angela Box Show on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
Hello, hello, hello. Once again, all my fellow patriots and you filthy leftist stalkers out there. You are listening to the Angela Box Show. I am Angela Box. Y'all, there's a lot. There's a lot today. Every week on my show, I like to dedicate a sea turtle killing plastic straw to a filthy leftist or sometimes an organization that richly deserves it. But I feel like I need to give you a little backstory as to why I dedicate a sea turtle killing plastic straw. So I have a friend, Olga. Olga's like the Gail to my Oprah, okay? Olga's all over my social media. She's a very good friend of mine. And she goes, I was listening to your show, and I feel like I don't understand the sea turtle killing plastic straw. Like, people are going to be offended. And I was like, A, don't care. B, there's a reason I say that. The reason I talk about the sea turtle killing plastic straw is because, of course, leftists have shoehorned their paper straws onto us for a number of years. You know, the kinds that mush in your mouth after 3 seconds. And it's all because, you know, they're supposedly killing sea turtles in the sea. Now, these same leftists, mind you, don't give a crap about their millions and billions and tons of face diapers that are now littering the bottom of the oceans and killing all the coral reefs. They don't give a crap about that, but they care about the sea turtle killing plastic straws. So that's why I dedicate a sea turtle killing plastic straw every week. And this week, ladies and gentlemen, it should be no surprise who it's going to, because gird your loins, it is here. What fresh hell awaits us in Pride Month today? And this week's plastic straw is going to none other than my former drug of choice, Target, because I will never, and I mean never, step foot inside of Target again. Because not only do we know now that they're offering tuck your junk swimsuits to men, and, you know, this shirt is trans, and my mom's a lesbian, and queer, stuffed aimed at kids. But we now know that they're also partnering with this group called GLSEN, which is the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network, which, again, weird. I'm old enough to remember when GLAAD, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, only had 2 letters in the Alphabet People acronym. Where are the rest of them? I'm sorry, I'm a little triggered, GLAAD, but I digress. This GLSEN organization, which, by the way, was one of its founders was a guy named Kevin Jennings, who was in the Obama administration. And Kevin Jennings was one of these guys that was promoting, and I can't even say this on the air, all right? Imagine making a fist, okay? Make a fist, and then think about where you might put it if you were a gay person, okay? Put it where the sun don't shine, all right? That's what Kevin Jennings was promoting to children in grade school and middle school during the Obama administration. And, you know, Barack Obama, the first black president, he said it. He was like, I'm going to be fundamentally transforming this country. And if you don't think that he meant it, what the hell do you think is going on now? You think that sack of potatoes Peepaw is running the show? No, it's Barack Obama and the people above Barack Obama. Anyway, so this organization is partnering with Target. They are proudly partnering with Target, and Target has given over $2.1 million to this organization. Their treasurer is the head of marketing at Target. So if you wonder why the rainbow people, the alphabet people, are barfing all over your children at Target, that's why. If you're wondering why the rainbow people and the alphabet people are barfing over our culture, it's because of ESG, environmental, social, governmental. And I got off topic last week, and I did not get back to ESG. So let me just kind of close that loop from last week. ESG is this initiative pushed by these woke money fund people and people at the World Economic Forum, George Soros, people like that. And they basically are saying, here's our agenda, you're going to do it, and if you don't do it, you're not getting money. And if you don't do it, we're going to sick our woke psychopaths onto you, and you're going to do as you're told. And what do the corporations do? They do as they're told. Now, here's the deal. The dirty little secret is most of them don't have to be nudged that much, because there's a bunch of, real smart people that went to Harvard and Yale, and you didn't, sitting on these boards, and they're leftist lunatics anyhow. So it's not like they have to be nudged real hard to do this. But that's where it's all coming from. And now our beloved Chick-fil-A of all places, has now gone totally woke. They're on board with diversity, inclusion, and equality, DEI, diversity, equality, and inclusion. Now, all those things taken on its own don't sound threatening, but when you put it in the hands of a filthy leftist, you get what we've got going on in our culture right now. And by God, if I do nothing else, I'm going to expose these people and humiliate them for what they are doing to children and what they are putting in front of the American people and in front of the world. I remember, I'm old enough to remember, when the rainbow symbol, I didn't get triggered, as they like to say, every time I see a rainbow. The rainbow, this is how they've bastardized the rainbow. This is how they shove in their face their satanic and demonic ideology. Because, of course, the rainbow was a symbol of God's covenant between Noah and God after the great flood, saying, I will not flood the earth anymore. And when you see the rainbow, you will be reminded of my covenant with you. And what have these people done with it? They have perverted it. They have made it represent unspeakable acts and the grooming of children. So that's why Target is getting the sea turtle killing plastic straw. And, they don't care. They don't give a crap that their sales are cratering. I mean, Bud Light so far has lost like $20 billion. And Target's like, hold my beer. Because Target is now losing billions and billions of dollars. And here's what these dummies did not seem to figure out during the school board kerfluffle of last year and the year before, when the Biden administration was sicking the FBI on parents and calling them domestic terrorists for pointing out the literal pornography in schools and their insane agenda. This is what they don't seem to understand. These mama bears, these papa bears, you're not going to mess with their kids. Now, look, I don't have kids. Don't have them, don't want them. But I have a niece and a nephew, and I was a teacher, and I love kids. And when you see the innocence of a child being just stripped away with a drag queen pushing his prosthetic breasts in a kid's face, or gyrating on a pole in front of a child sitting there in a chair, scared out of their mind, not understanding what the hell is going on, and that their psychotic parents are sitting there going, yay, diversity, yay, tolerance, yay, inclusion. No. Normal gay people are not down for this crap. Nobody normal is down for this crap, okay? Not one single normal person I know is down for this crap. So you keep it up, Target. You keep it up, Bud Light. You keep it up, Chick-fil-A. Man, I swear, every day the list keeps growing of places I can't shop anymore. I swear to God. So, look, if you're tired of all this crap, we have alternatives out there. There is a place called Mammoth Nation, MammothNation.com, which is like the Costco for conservatives. You pay a membership fee, and you can go in and you can buy from businesses that don't actively hate your guts, okay? You can buy from businesses that aren't pushing this garbage, and you can use my code and get 30% off. So MammothNation.com, use the code Angela Box, and trust me, you'll thank me. All right, guys, you were listening to the Angela Box Show on AM 1070, The Answer. I'm Angela Box. Be right back.
Hey, fellow patriots and filthy leftist stalkers. It's Angela Box on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
Welcome back to the Angela Box Show. I am really excited to have my friend Chris Byrd, who we were joking about this off the air. I was calling him Christopher. And the reason I call him Christopher is because of The Sopranos, when Adriana would say, Christopher, you sat on my dog, you killed my dog. And years ago when I lived in L.A., I was dating a guy who we always go to Sunday dinners at his parents' house, the actor Joe Campanella. This was his oldest son. And one of the neighbors was a guy named Frank Renzulli. And Renzulli would come over as a writer and be like, hey, Frank, what you working on? And he goes, hey, yeah, I just got this new new show with HBO. It's called The Sopranos. And we thought it was like about a singing family. And we had no idea until it aired. We were like, holy crap, Renzulli. And Frank Renzulli actually was the guy who came up with the bada bing. So just a little trivia there for you. All right, Chris Byrd, you are a lawyer, and you're also a committeeman of the SREC, the Select Republican Executive Committee, State Republican Executive Committee. Welcome to the Angela Box Show. Glad to have you.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here, and I'm having a blast.
Well, yes, off the air we were cutting up a little bit. It was funny. So I want to talk to you primarily about this Ken Paxton impeachment crap, because most of us stood back last week and could not believe our eyes. It just came out of the blue. Dade Phelan, that drunk, that skunk, that snake, threw it in at the last minute and just blindsided everyone at the end of May. Tell me what you know about what's going on with this.
Well, I think it's a very interesting set of dynamics. There's an outcry from all different kind of directions, some of which you might not have originally suspected, but I'm getting actually phone calls from lawmakers who were there. They had received last-minute, 11th hour packets of information, told to show up at a certain time, no time to even review anything, no ability to engage in any kind of process to vet the information that they're told. And they already had pressing House business to attend to in the last hours of the scheduled session, and this just got dumped on their lap, no prior notice whatsoever. They didn't even have an internal committee that would be able to, be a liaison, if you will. They didn't have the opportunity to interview any kind of investigators or witnesses or transcripts from any sworn statements. I'm questioning now that there were any sworn statements at all by anybody. Everything was hearsay based upon hearsay, conclusion on top of conclusion. There really has not yet surfaced any kind of a self-authenticating form of evidence either. So obviously the grassroots is spooling up a big outcry. I even received this morning from a county chair, friend of mine sent me a draft resolution to censor Dade Phelan. It came from another county somewhere. So this gives you kind of a temperature, if you will, of what's going on across the state.
Yeah, and the whole thing stinks to high heaven. And the PAC that I am a treasurer of, called Save Texas Now, we actually supported Louis Gohmert in the 2020 primary, because just for those reasons you're talking about, the hearsay, the idea that any day now Ken Paxton's going to get indicted, and it never happened. And you would think with this out of control, rogue, awful DOJ that is, persecuting its political enemies on the daily, like they're drinking water, you would think that if they had something on Ken Paxton that was actionable, even if it wasn't actionable, they would go after him, but they haven't. And so for Dade Phelan to do this in secret, and for this committee to do this in secret in order to usurp the will of the people of Texas, which, Ken Paxton won in a walk as Attorney General. He's the best Attorney General in this country. He's the only one that's actually trying to do anything about election fraud. And a lot of people are saying that this kind of mini coup that's going on in our state is, pitting, Abbott against Paxton against Patrick, and these three men don't really particularly like each other. And so now we have a situation where they're kind of ganging up on Paxton. And I was at a meeting last night, and it was kind of cat let out of the bag that Phelan is putting pressure now on Patrick to support this in the Senate and to get this through. Otherwise, Dan Patrick's pet project of property taxes won't go through. I mean, it's really gross. And this is the kind of crap that Democrats do. And now we're seeing in Texas a forming of a uniparty where we have patriots, grassroots people who want election integrity, want the border secure, want to stop the sexualization of children, common sense things that normal people want. And then you've got the uniparty that is in bed with all the worst characters you can imagine.
Yeah, I think that's right. Just to speak to the Uniparty aspect, when you look at the actual vote that happened last Saturday at 4:46 in the afternoon, we had 23 nay votes and 121 yes votes. So that tells you right there that there was a very, very large number of Republicans, and I will say in name only at the moment, who went ahead and sided with all the Democrats. And I haven't done a count, but I suspect every Democrat that was on the floor was a yes vote. So it's kind of an interesting way if you start to look at who were the nay votes, because I think there were a couple of Democrats actually that were nay votes too. And it means that they, regardless of their party line politics, they were able to climb an altitude and look at the constitutional protections and provisions that we have that they just did not find had been honored in this process. And so then you've got others that clearly, if you just listen to the tenor of those that were getting up and speaking on the floor, they really focused a lot on just a lot of emotion-driven dribble that was centered on essentially their opinions of Ken Paxton, as opposed to the others, which were chiefly representing the 23 nay votes. They were calling to attention things like constitutional protection and due process, and this is a very solemn occasion. We need to take it with a lot of seriousness instead of just dumping things at the 11th hour with not any time to absorb anything or even review the packets and so on and so on. So it was a very interesting day to sit there and watch both of these, kind of opine as to how they should view this scenario. I'm not surprised to hear at all that Dade Phelan is already putting undue pressure on the lieutenant governor. That doesn't surprise me in the least bit.
No, it's disgusting. And Marissa Hanson, who's a friend of the show, investigative reporter, she's a dog with a bone, and she gets all kinds of dirt. And she was told over the weekend that this push for impeachment is primarily with TLR, Texas for Lawsuit Reform, and Dick Weekly's group. And those groups are open borders people. They want as many illegals as they can to flood into the system. They do not want to get rid of Eric. They do not want to clean up voter rules. They don't want to do any of the things that Ken Paxton is doing in order to make our elections fair and secure in Texas. Because certainly Harris County was an absolute disaster, and they're just gonna kick the can as long as they possibly can until 2020 or 20 whenever Lena Hidalgo is up for re-election again. That's absolutely going to happen. Anyway, Marissa said that this group of people met over the weekend, and it was the cabal pushing either George P. Bush or Eva Guzman, or as you mentioned yesterday, Steve Munisteri. Now, what have you heard about that?
Well, I think the governor's actually come out and made an appointment of John Scott, former Secretary of State. I think that's already happened.
Yeah, it has happened, but I think what they want to do is somehow, call, if they can get rid of Paxton permanently, call for another election or something like that. They're trying to slip one in because they want their open borders people. They want people that are a little more squishy. I don't know much about Eva Guzman. I don't necessarily put her in the categories I would put a Bush. And again, if you had told me 7 years ago that I would revile the Bush family, I would think you were crazy. But now we see the board very clearly. We see who's on the side of America first, Texas first, and who isn't. And when you're going after Ken Paxton, it's a very similar situation with what they did with Trump. And it's very, very concerning. It's like, the old adage, first they came for Paxton. So be careful what you wish for, people who voted yes. And I know some of the people who voted yes. Very disappointed in these people. So to wrap that up, and then in the couple minutes we have left, let's talk about some good news that came out of the Texas legislature, because there wasn't much, frankly.
No, there wasn't. I would like just very quickly to sort of pivot on something I consider very good, and I think there's still a little bit of open hope for this, but you may have heard about the Texas gold and silver bullion currency bill, which Mark D'Orazio, who was one of the nay votes, by the way, championed, and that was companioned by Senator Hughes' bill. There's still reasons to think that conversation, which was stirred up throughout the legislative session, is going to continue, because it was viewed very much as a bipartisan effort to secure sound money for Texas. I think that's good news. You asked me about some good news, so it's nice to know that there is some positive conversations about sound money for Texas in response to Biden inflation and so forth. Of course, not to be overlooked is the huge victory on HB 900 on the secularization of children, as well as obviously the gender mod bill that was championed by my own Senator Donna Campbell, that being SB 14. We revel in those victories, but they were hard fought.
They were hard fought, and Dade Phelan, the Speaker of the House, Mr. Republican, fought every single legislative thing that we wanted, and those are the only ones we got through. So many things we didn't get, and because the Texas legislature only meets every 2 years, they're just, again, kicking the can. All right, Chris, how can people reach you? Because I know you're a lawyer, and you're a good one. So how can people reach you and find out what you're all about?
Well, I do thank you for that. That's a humbling thing to receive, but I do maintain a couple of websites, so chrisbyrdlaw.com being one. I will mention I do have 2 constitutional victories at the Supreme Court, and I've got 3 victories altogether, but 2 of them are on constitutional issues, and they actually fall right in line with this impeachment business and the concerns that it raised. The other one is txsd25.com. That's my SREC website. We try to keep that pretty active, along with a companion Facebook page. So all of my information is out there for that.
All right, Chris. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on the Angela Box Show, and we will be right back.
You've tuned into the right place for conservatism. It's the Box that rocks. This is the Angela Box Show on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
Listen, man, I could talk about the alphabet people and their perversion and insanity for an entire show all day, every day. But, there's other crap going on. But to, put a period on the end of this sentence. So this GLSAN organization, you guys, they are working with schools and pushing for kids' genders to be changed without parental consent. So when I talk to leftists and they're like, "You're making all of this up. You're insane." I'm like, "Really? Look, Google. Google is your friend." I mean, I know Google hides stuff, but here's something you can Google. In the state of Washington right now, there was a bill that was just signed by the filthy leftist governor, Jay Inslee. And this bill allows schools to push gender modification and gender transition, and the parents cannot be involved whatsoever. If a child is brainwashed in a school with these rainbow freak teachers, and they're like, "I want to change my gender. I want to be a boy. I'm a girl. I want to be a boy." they not only, it's a law that they won't tell the parents, but they'll go ahead and get them on the path to the gender modification. I mean, can we keep it 100 of what's going on here? This is satanic. This is demonic. This is about the transing of children. This is about changing what God created. This is a rebellion against God. And I mean, I'm not a biblical scholar, but who was the biggest rebel against God? It would be Lucifer himself. So all of this stuff going on. And if you look back in medieval texts, you can even see the Baphomet, the demon that has the horns and has the breasts of a woman and the lower genitals of a man. It's in all kinds of medieval drawings. It's in all kinds of things you can find. And so now the alphabet people are actively embracing Satan. And they're saying Satan is an ally and Satan loves exactly who you are. It's like, well, y'all, my head explodes. It explodes. And again, I could go on and on. But let's talk about our favorite twink, Dylan Mulvaney, because Dylan Mulvaney, and yes, I said twink because that is a accepted term that little effeminate gay men have been going by since I've known what a gay man was. All right? There's bears, there's daddies, there's twinks. Look it up. Clutch your pearls elsewhere. Anyway, Dylan Mulvaney is now walking around with his little 5 o'clock shadow popping because he's just cosplaying as a girl. He hasn't done any hormones. He hasn't chopped off his junk. No, he's just like an anorexic twink. And he's now going around saying that he is a lesbian. So Dylan Mulvaney, who's pretending to be a girl, is now saying, well, I'm a girl now, so I've decided I'm a lesbian. So basically Dylan Mulvaney is a straight man. I can't with these people. They're unserious people, but they have undue influence over our culture, and it's far past time that everyone starts pushing back. And just don't shop at these places. Just show them the power of what we can do when we say, not another inch. You have taken a mile. You go crazy. We give you an inch. You go off the damn cliff. So that's over. Okay, so remember last week how I think I talked about it. It was either on this or on my other show, Angela's Soapbox, which you need to be listening to, by the way. It's on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, just like this show will be when I'm done. I talked about there's a bunch of false flags going on, and they're not even trying to hide it anymore. The movie is called They're Not Even Trying to Hide It Anymore. So this one false flag they pushed last week was the dude in the U-Haul truck, and he says, I'm going to go kill the president. He goes over the barrier, and then he stops, and he gets out, and they arrest him, and they pull out of his truck, not explosives, no weapons, no arsenal, no knife, nothing, not even a rope to hang Joe Biden by. No. It was the only thing in this guy's U-Haul truck was a Nazi flag. It's like, come on, man. This is so obvious what you're doing. It's so dumb. So now we come to find out that this guy was named Cy Kandula, which doesn't sound like a white guy to me, but what do I know? I'm just a disgusting white supremacist. This guy, Cy Kandula, not a U.S. citizen, bought his Nazi flag online, and he supports eugenics and the One World Order. So basically one of their homies. And when they figured out this guy was one of their people, they're like, oh, crap. Well, we can't charge him with any federal crime. I mean, we can't charge him with insurrection and throw him into jail for 3 years with no attorneys or no court date. No. He got his charges quietly downgraded to like a misdemeanor. All right? Now, you and I both know that if that was a white guy that did that, he would be in jail in the gulag with the January 6th defendants, never to be seen or heard from again. Because never forget what January 6th really was. January 6th was this. It was not an insurrection. It was a peaceful protest to have concerns about the fraudulent election of 2020. And because January 6th was happening, they could not have the Republican lawmakers go to the floor of the Senate, the ones that came from the swing states, and get up there and start talking about all the anomalies in these elections and that they can't be certified and we need to send them back to the states. At the very least, we got to send them back to the states to be looked at. That's what January 6th was about. Also what January 6th was about was a setup by the bad guys to tell you, don't you dare. Don't you even think about it. Don't you question. Don't you ever think about ever pulling back the curtain on what we are doing, on what the system is all about. Because if you do, you're going in the dungeon for the rest of your natural life. I mean, we have been going through an invasion, not just of illegal aliens. We're going to get to that. Not just of illegal aliens, but of values and of standards in our culture. And it all started with who? Barack Obama, the first black president. It all started with Obama. He has degraded every standard in the name of diversity and equity. Obama started the war on cops. Remember? Oh, Trayvon Martin, if I had a son, he would look just like Trayvon. Oh, would he be a thug, robbing and stealing too? Yeah, probably about right. Obama's kids. Actually, I shouldn't say that. His daughters are lovely. I'm sure they're upstanding citizens, but probably spoiled rotten and as woke as they come. Pretty girls, though, but you know what I'm saying. Trayvon Martin, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. All the crap with the cops, the kerfuffle, something that happened in Massachusetts with this, he just stepped in it every time. Every time it was a cop, he went on the side of the criminal every damn time. And never forget, BLM, or as I call them, BM. Yeah, BM. If you don't know what BM, look it up. Anyway, BM got started over a lie. Over the lie of hands up, don't shoot. Over the lie of Michael Brown. Over the lie of Michael Brown saying, oh, please don't shoot me, I got my hands up. And then this white cop just shot him to death right in the middle of the street. Well, as witnesses attested, no, that's not what happened. Michael Brown, a big kid, he's like, 6'4", 300 pounds, robs this Asian guy's store. The cops get called. They start to confront Michael Brown. Michael Brown doesn't stop. He starts charging the cop. The cop tussles with this kid. He goes for his weapon, Michael Brown does, and the weapon goes off. That's what happened. And these race-hustling grifters of BLM have made millions and millions of dollars off the deaths of these people. But they won't say a word about anything that goes on in the inner city on a daily basis. Why? Because that doesn't suit their agenda. No, because they need people on the Democrat plantation. They need black people angry. They need black people saying, I can't get ahead because of racism. I can't get ahead because of whitey. They need that. If they didn't have that, they wouldn't be doing any of this because they have to make money. And as I mentioned last week, BLM, Schadenfreude alert, is going bankrupt. But, never fear. I'm sure there'll be a cop-involved shooting soon, and they'll be able to take advantage of that and raise money off it. And then everyone will put black squares on their Instagram because they just want to make sure that, I just want to show that I take responsibility and Black Lives Matter and blah, 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 blah. It's a grifting, race-hustling group. I can't stand BLM. They're awful. Seriously, it's absolutely ridiculous what's going on. Okay, so as I mentioned last week, I was not allowed to talk about the Durham report on a certain channel that I go on often, but that doesn't matter because now 63% believe that the Russia smear was a hit job against Trump. Now, it's literally the media is not talking about this at all. They're not talking about Durham whatsoever. They're ignoring it as much as humanly possible, but it's still getting out there, guys. So that's good. It is still getting out there. Let's real quick, while I have time in this segment, let's talk about the debt ceiling fight that went on. And my conservative hero of this week is Chip Roy. Chip Roy is a BA. He's a bad beep. And I love this man. He basically took the fight to the Democrats, to the rhinos, saying, we're not getting anything we wanted in this thing. Kevin McCarthy's doing a victory lap, and we've got like 4% of what we actually wanted. And Joe Biden, the demented old criminal, Corrado Soprano, mentioned the Sopranos earlier, can't figure out if he's Corrado Soprano and faking it, or if he really has dementia. Like, I don't know. Maybe it comes and goes, but he's a cagey old criminal. He's doing a memo, and I should say it's his people, circulating a memo to Democrats and the media basically saying, ha, got one over on him again. Boy, these Republicans are stupid. And that's what Chip Roy was trying to fight against. So in the next segment, I'll talk a little bit about Chip Roy and why I love him so much. But just know that this debt ceiling crap, and it's not sexy, who wants to hear about the debt ceiling, blah, blah, blah. But it's important because I'm going to tell you in the next segment what Chip Roy was standing for, and the conservatives that did not vote for this thing wanted to see pass. So it's important to keep a handle on what our out-of-control politicians are up to in Washington, D.C. All right, you are listening to the Angela Box Show on AM 1070. The Answer. I'm Angela Box. One more segment. Be right back.
It's conservative, air combat, armed and ready. This is the Angela Box Show on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
So producer Wick reminded me off the air that this segment's supposed to be the good news segment. And I'm like, oh, but there's so much crap this week. I don't know if I can get to it. You know what? Okay, let's lead with Chip Roy. As I mentioned in the last segment, Chip Roy is my conservative hero of the week. He was standing firm. Now, listen, this guy was also leading the charge against the coronation of Kevin McCarthy as Speaker. Now, look, Kevin McCarthy, I would say I'd give him about a 65 to 70 right now, which isn't terrible. I mean, it's a hell of a lot better than Mitch McConnell. It's a hell of a lot better than Paul Ryan, all right? But he needs to grow a little more of a backbone. So here's some of the things that Chip Roy wanted to include in the debt ceiling, which, again, we have the House. This is what blows me away. We have the House of Representatives. Joe Biden would not get his debt ceiling increase without the House of Representatives passing this thing. So why the hell didn't we stand firm? I'll tell you why. Because our side is a bunch of wimps and a bunch of uniparty people. That's why. There are very few and far between Chip Roys out in the world here. So here's some of the things that Chip Roy wanted. $131 billion cut to annual spending, shrink the federal bureaucracy to pre-COVID, cap growth for 10 years. And what they got was at best a 2 years freeze in spending. All right. This one I like. Strong work requirements for welfare. If you're on welfare, if you're getting food stamps, you better do some work for it. But they're like, oh, no, that's racist. No, we need to make sure that everyone stays on the Democrat plantation regardless of race. We can't ask you to work for your free money. How dare you? So no, minor work requirements, minor. Like basically saying, oh yeah, I got up at like the crack of noon and I went to my job at 7-Eleven for 4 hours and now I'm smoking a blunt. Give me my snap. That's what they're doing. Anyway, all right, let's see. Energy permitting reform is passed by the House. That's what they wanted. And now they're having minor permitting reform that fast-tracks IRA subsidized unreliable energy and batteries. So, look, instead of being energy independent, instead of, as Sarah Palin once said, all of the above, drill, baby, drill. This is what I don't understand about these people, okay? They live in fantasy land. AOC making her little model city. Oh, here's my model city. And as you can see, it's a 15-minute city. And, y'all, that's what the UN wants, and that's what the World Economic Forum wants. They want these things called 15-minute cities where you basically aren't allowed to leave a 15-minute perimeter as far as you can drive or as far as you can walk. And they're like, oh, we're going to have public transportation, and everything's going to be green, and we're going to tear down all the buildings and rebuild them as green buildings. It's going to be amazing, you guys. And we're going to have solar and windmills everywhere, and everything's going to be so good, and all the trees are going to live, and all the ugly, yucky oil. Ooh, ooh, ooh. We're not going to have any more petroleum. These people are idiots. These people are literal idiots. And for these dummies to fast-track this green new energy crap, instead of understanding that, hey, man, technology's not there yet. It's just not there yet. Hey, in 100 years it might be there, but it's not there yet. So how about we stop living in fantasy land, AOC, and you idiots, Liz Warren, with your exquisite cheekbones and great skin. I got to hand her that. She does have really good skin. The woman's like 72 years old. Hashtag goals. Anyway, how about we live in reality? Because every single thing you own has petroleum in it. Every little thing, every last thing, your clothes, your computer, this desk I'm hitting right here, everything has petroleum in it. And I have a great idea, and I'm going to say it on the air, so if it gets stolen, you know I said it first. If a mid-sized oil company has some cojones, you need to contact me, because here's my idea. It's called A World Without Oil. And what you do is this, because I have an advertising degree that I've never used, but it's a good idea. You devolve the world. You show what it's like right now, where we're all busy and going around. We're on our phones, and then throughout the 30-second spot, you start taking things away and taking things away and taking things away, and pretty soon we're all cavemen dragging our knuckles with clubs in our hands like Fred Flintstone. I mean, that's what a world without oil would be. So these people are very stupid. I mean, there's a lot. The point is that there's a lot that we could have gotten that we did not get. And Chip Roy was leading the charge. See, there you go, Rick. That's good news. See? I did it. I did good news. I did good news, and now it's back to the snark. We now return to your snark station. Okay. So check this. I was talking about my favorite group, BM, earlier. So ABC, which is terrible, was partnering with Hulu this week. And they ran the 1619 Project, which is another fantasy created by leftists to make black people angry and, continue to blame all their problems on everybody else instead of taking responsibility for their own lives, because everyone is an individual, but I digress. Anyway, the 1619 Project's running on ABC. And it's, pure fiction. But they were like, you know what? We gotta make room for the reparations talk, because that's what's coming next, y'all. That's what's coming next. California is so dumb and so bankrupt and so just in Looney Tunes land, which California, y'all, is the model for what they want to do to us. They want the 1% to run everything and to have all the money, and everyone else is going to be dirt poor and eating zebras like they do in Venezuela, okay? That's what they want for us. And they think that if they can, carve off enough of us patriots and people who have common sense and goodwill and believe in God, that they can get their wish. So the reparations talk will be coming to a store near you. I assure you of that. And they're not going to stop until they get it. But if you want to watch reparations in action and ESG insanity in action, look no further to what Lululemon did last week. I don't know if you've heard about this, but it's crazy. So Lululemon, of course, they're very woke. They make sure they had black squares on their Instagram when George Floyd died. They make sure to put all the hashtags on their store windows, like diversity, inclusion, and tolerance. And, hashtag yoga pants are for everybody. And we love everybody. We don't care if you're morbidly obese and you want to walk around in our yoga pants looking ridiculous. Like, we totally support you doing that. So Lululemon sucks, all right? They have like $100 for yoga pants. It's crap. You can get the same crap as, dare I say, at Target, okay, or Amazon or anywhere else. Old Navy has some good pants too. I mean, look, Old Navy's woke too, but at least their yoga pants aren't $100. I will never put a pair of Lululemons on this behind, I assure you. Anyway, so in Atlanta this week, there was a robbery at a Lululemon. And the youths, they love to call them youths, don't they? The youths made off with hundreds of dollars of merchandise. Just robbed the store blind. Loot, rob, leave. And so the employees video what's going on. They call the police. The police catch the robbers. And they were getting ready to book the robbers, and then Lululemon's like, no, we can't. I mean, no, because of systemic racism and social justice. We need to make sure that these people are let go. And they fired the Lululemon employees for calling the police, because Lululemon is stupid, and they say that it is against their store policy to call the police if someone is robbing the store. So basically, everybody, go into Lululemon and start stealing. I guess what other conclusion can you draw? But listen, spoiler alert, if you're whitey and you're going in and stealing $100 yoga pants, you will have the police called on you. Y'all, a society that is such, at this point of divide and conquer, a society like this cannot continue. If you say that one group of people is exempted from rules because of slavery, which, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, maybe you low-key owned slaves, but I didn't, and nobody else alive has, and your parents have it, and your grandparents have it, and Martin Luther King, who was more of a hero today for me than he ever was, believed in content of character over color of skin, and dignity for all people, regardless of skin color. But if you are making exemptions for people, for groups of people, to rob, loot, steal, act a fool in school, which again, they're not disciplining black and brown kids in schools. That's why schools have so much violence and they're out of control, because leftist idiots run schools and they won't discipline. They will not discipline problem behavior students. Y'all, you can't run a society on this. So as I've mentioned many times, they are everything, everywhere, all at once-ing it. They are cloud pivoting it all the time, and our culture is collapsing because of it. And if people don't understand that we've got to start judging people as individuals who make good choices, bad choices, they have good parts, bad parts to them, regardless of their skin color, this American experiment is not going to be able to survive. We are going to become segregated again. Because people are, I don't know what else to say. And I'm not talking about government post-segregation. I'm talking about just people like, I can't take this anymore. You're literally, you go in, you rob a store blind, and the police are called, and the employees get fired? Like, how do you survive as a society if this happens? You can't. You can't. All right, guys, you have been listening to the Angela Box Show. I literally have 14 pages of notes I didn't get to. Such as it is, we'll just have to wait for the morning show. I am Angela Box. You can find me on social media. Everything's angelasoapbox.com. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at The Box That Rocks. Facebook is Angela Box Public. Truth Social is Angela Box. Y'all, I am definitely shadow banned. Like, I can't even tell you. Like, I get one retweet. It's crazy. Go follow my social media. See, be a part of the Angela Box juggernaut, because we're going to take back this country. We're going to humiliate these people, expose these people, and until next time, everyone, keep kicking ass and taking names. Peace!